right, and I'm here with Ginny Moore, who's going to be giving a talk tomorrow. So can you give us a brief introduction and overview of what you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so Ginny Moore, I own a company called Chalk and Tablet, and we develop online courses for companies, educational institutions, and a variety of groups. And one of our main goals is to develop accessible content while trying to stay on top of the trends as far as development styles and techniques go. So tomorrow I'll be presenting on the most common myths in creating accessible digital content,
Right.
and debunking those, and then providing examples from the presentation itself as to how to do that.
There's definitely many myths. What is maybe one that you can tell us today?
The main one that we deal with on a regular basis is that accessibility is only for a few people. So why do I have to do this? It takes time, and every time we hear that, we think, well, there's 1 billion disabled individuals in this world. And even though instructors may not be informed that they have a disabled student in their online course because it's not as obvious, they're there for sure. But then in addition to that, the accessibility features don't just benefit the students with disabilities, they benefit everybody.
Because we all learn differently.
Exactly.
There's different ways that we consume material and learn.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what are some of the features that you work into your courses and the online version of those courses to make them accessible? What should people be aware of to think about in maybe their own courses?
Yeah, so the main ones that you don't need any expertise coming into it and you don't have to pay any money to get them done would be creating alt text. So alternative text for visual elements like pictures, diagrams, anything that students would need to see to fully grasp the content. And then also if you have videos, which of course is huge in asynchronous online education, it's really important to provide transcripts or captions. We're a big fan of transcripts in addition to captions, because students can actually download those and put it in their hands and use them to highlight, and that's including students that don't have disabilities.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, those seem like simple solutions. I'm sure once you get used to including this in your material, it becomes easier. It's not as burdensome as people think, because that seems to be one of the main concerns.
Yes, and that is definitely a main concern. And then they also try to they try to put these features in at the end of development after they've already created the content,
right,
thinking, it'll be easy to do that. And 9 times out of 10, it takes more time to do it that way than it would if you kind of integrate it into development.
So the planning process is key.
Planning is key, yeah.
So true in many aspects of life, but
yes,
very much when you're developing learning materials.
Definitely.
So we're here at the Learning Ideas Conference, and of course we're getting lots of interesting ideas from different fields and around the world. And as the world is changing so quickly, is there one particular idea that you think is important for educators and educational institutions to realize as ways of helping people to improve their lives and to learn better?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, there's actually 2. So the first one is just, what I came here to talk about, and that's it is possible to make learning accessible.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely number 1. But then I was sort of inspired by, I'm going to say his last name wrong, but Ian, the keynote from yesterday.
Right, the first keynote, yes.
Where I wanted to just keep pushing pause because he was so smart, so well-spoken, and incredibly insightful. And my favorite takeaway from his was thinking about, the way that our kids just naturally learn, because they know how to play, and they don't have control in the world around them. So play is a way for them to make up for that and feel a little bit more comfortable.
Right.
And that ends up helping to support their learning as well. And so for adults who we think we have control when we really don't, we forget that play is a big part of of learning and experiencing new things. And so adding a little bit of play into education, I think, is incredibly important, and especially asynchronous, where it's fully self-paced, you're in charge of your own learning process, but to give them a tool that can make that experience more fun and memorable, I think would really help with retention, with just the enjoyment of the process of learning and the love of the art of learning.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely a big takeaway.
That's great. And I mean, in your company, as you're designing educational material, and both digital and in person, how are you incorporating play a little bit? I mean, you said that you do an amazing job with accessibility, and that's so important.
Yeah.
But are there some elements of play that are a little bit?
Yeah, and tomorrow in our talk, I actually made a little mini course as quickly as I could.
Okay.
And so my presentation itself is a course that is not only expressing the things that we're going to talk about, but also showing examples of. So there's some games in there. We try to do assessments especially, or practice. We try to make them into games so that it's a little bit more fun for folks to learn. And that's pretty common in most of the courses that we create, depending on what the client wants to, though.
I look forward to seeing that and experiencing it tomorrow. But thank you very much, Ginny, for sharing what you do and your important work, and a little bit about your talk tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.